Hi again, peeps. Bill again. Well, it's good to be back in my geek cave. There's a bit of a story behind that one. Our favourite auntie, she's kind of the matriarch of our family, she gave us a bit of a fright. She fell over and she banged herself about a bit and she ended up really poorly. I mean, she's in her 90s. Anyway, I took pure advantage of the situation and I kind of bullied her into staying with us for a week or three. It all worked out. She got to spoil my kids rotten. You know, the wee toe rags were meant to be looking after her. Her and my wife got to fight all day long. Two strong women under one roof. Never usually works out. It was good. But all good things come to an end. She's a lot better now, and she's managed to arrange a jailbreak, and she's run back to her own wee flat. So we're missing having her around, but you know, she needs her independence. So what do you do? Haste you back, Maisie. You're welcome any time, though. Anyway, moving on. Are any of the Brits familiar with the Metro newspaper? It's a freebie tabloid. Ta-da! One I prepared earlier. It's given out by the transport networks in this country. Yeah, it's something for the commuters to read. Now, it takes the news, it chops it down into bite-sized chunks, and it throws it into easy reading snippets, you know? Now, it might lack the fancy prose and the deep political insight of the broadsheets, but to be honest, I couldn't really get a toss about how some failed writer chooses to dress up current events. You see, when a mine collapses in South Wales or South Georgia or Keela-Safala, whatever, I want to know if anybody was hurt. And if they were, I want to know what's been done to help the survivors, and I want to know what's happening for their families. I don't really need some Oxbridge dropout telling me that the mining company are a bunch of cunts. You know, I can figure that one out for myself. So the Metro's good for that sort of thing. Another bonus is that they don't have any political affiliations. You know, public transport matters to them a lot, and anybody that's promising support for it will get a good write-up, but they leave all the party political bollocks out. Yeah, and that's a good thing. But there's only one wee fly in the ointment that's bugging me. They seem to be quite blind to feminist influences. Their views on almost any subject could have been written by the lads and lassies that write for Jezebel, honestly. A wee example or three. The first one we'll do is the rape joke. See, Microsoft were demoing the Xbox One, and a guy says to a female gamer that he's playing with on the big screen, "Just let it happen, it'll be over soon." Ha ha ha. Now, he's playing her at a game called Killer Instinct, which is a new fighting title. The source that the article quoted was a Twitter post. Aye. Journalistic integrity at its best, that one. The thing is, without getting into the whole girl gamer thing, that is almost exactly, word for word, what my dentist said to me a fortnight past. Now, the audience, that'll be my dentist and her assistant, actually liked it. I mean, does this make my dentist sick? Should I have been offended that two females in a position of great power over my helpless bod were making rape jokes? Alright, how about this one? There's an unattributed scientific survey published in the Journal for Sexual Behaviour. Sounds intriguing. And apparently they examined the different responses that men and women have got to being shown the faces of members of the opposite sex. Now, the article doesn't go into too much detail, it doesn't even cite a real source, just the journal that it appears in. But the characterisation is damning. You know, men ogle, but women find it important to have a trustworthy partner. And the part and shot in that article is Nicole LeMarie's own. She misinterprets what she's already written, and she makes some snide comment insinuating that men spend their time ogling Rihanna. Well, I hate to disappoint you, love, but I've yet to see a picture of the talented songstress in any magazine that I've ever paid money for. She seems to feature quite highly in the tea break magazines that my wife leaves lying around though. Yeah, the shots are kind of divided about 50-50 between look how Riri looks, objectifying her in her bikini, and oh, look how awful Rihanna looks now, judging her based on whatever she's wearing on her trip to the shops. I thought that's what those men's were supposed to be doing though. Anyway, it's all harmless stuff, right? Just me mansplaining really, the same old MRA shite, yeah? Except you've got to consider where the Hillary Clinton blinkers lead you. Now, I genuinely enjoyed this article. I'm glad that the International Development Select Committee are willing to stick their heads above the parapet. They're sod the political correctness and all that horseshit. They're actually willing to take some action to protect anything up to 20,000 British infants and minors from the horrific practice of ritual genital mutilation. The problem isn't what the article says. I mean, that's all good stuff, and that's the reason I love the Metro so much. There's no fat on that article, just the basic facts of the story, who the main players are, and what they're actually going to do about it. Now, that's a really good effort by John Higginson, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of this and the related stories. But my problem with this article is that neither John nor the IDSC seem particularly willing to apply their thinking towards a vast majority of the victims of this vile practice. Now, there are up to 20,000 children at risk who they're willing to defend, even if it means that they get tarred as bigots or racists. Now, that's a courageous moral stance. But they seem quite blind to the plight of 30,000, that's 10,000 more, 30,000 babies who will be legally mutilated this year alone, just in England and Wales. And that's not at risk, that's the number of babies and minors who will have non-elective, medically unnecessary mutilation inflicted upon them. And unlike the victims that they're willing to protect, these babies, these infants, have virtually no legal protection. Of course, they are male. Male circumcision is different, apparently, to the much trendier female genital mutilation. Nobody talks about female circumcision anymore. The term is just completely unacceptable. Well, I'd like to extend that to male genital mutilation as well. I mean, let's make it like all surgery should be, a procedure of last resort. Something that we use when all other avenues have been exhausted. You see, boys, never mind babies, they're far too small to run the routine risks of such drastic surgery to an area of their body with such a high blood flow. Deaths are rare, but with such a large number of these mutilations happening, they're inevitable. There are about 117 deaths post-surgery every year in the US. Now, that's not counting additional deaths from ritual circumcisions that are carried outside of the medical profession. Now, here in the UK, we used to lose about 16 infants every year until the NHS just banned the routine performance of the operation. Deaths are rare enough in the UK now that they make the headlines, but they do make the headlines. They happen with sickening regularity. Every last one of these deaths is unavoidable. Every single one of them, people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't get a circumcision. If you're beyond the age of majority and you consider that you absolutely have to have a circumcision for religious, for medical, or even just for cosmetic reasons, well fine, you fill your boots, you do that. But that's your decision as a grown adult about your body. You do not get to choose to hack chunks out of a baby's genitals just because you hold to a particular worldview. Or at least you shouldn't. Now, I did raise this with the Metro's editors, and I think you can probably guess the reply. I've stuck a few links down in the low bar. Now, Mr. Shadowfax is always worth watching. Mike Hero, he does a really harrowing skit. Don't you crap out on me, people. You play that with the volume up. There's some ugly statistics down there to consider as well, but in better news, there are campaigns that you can join here in the UK, in the US and elsewhere in the world. You can take action to try and at least cut down the numbers, if not stop them completely. Which brings us back to the Metro. Look, if you're a reader, and if you're not, why not? It is good stuff, in spite of what I'm saying. Feel free to spam the letters page with all sorts of MRA type comments. I mean, gods know the feminists do. Get in there, get your voice heard. Good luck, have fun, peeps. Laters.